Has a woman ever talked to you about her problems? You listened, thought about it, even tried to understand her, and then suddenly walked away. No argument, no explanations, just distance. Most men think that moment is neutral or worse, annoying. They tell themselves, she'll just let it go. But that belief is what silently kills attraction. Because when a woman shares her problems with you, she's not asking you to solve anything. She's appreciating you. And most men fail without realizing they're being tested. They say the wrong things, spread negativity, and turn what could have been a great attraction into an emotional disaster. In this video, I'm not going to teach you how to comfort a woman. I'll explain what you're measuring at that moment and why understanding this distinguishes men who choose women from those who gradually distance themselves. Most men hear a woman talking about her problems and immediately see it as an outlet. It's just noise, a surge of emotion, something that lasts until it fades away. And this assumption alone is the root of all problems. Because when you use that moment merely to open your heart to yourself, you diminish its spiritual significance. You listen half-heartedly, waiting for your turn to speak. Or worse, you start thinking about how to politely reject it. You don't realize you're standing at a psychological crossroads. The path you choose will determine whether the attraction will grow or die silently. Here's why this misconception is so widespread. Men are inherently problem solvers. When something goes wrong, their instinct drives them to fix, correct, or eliminate it. This mindset is effective in business, work, and logistics. But relationships aren't built on competence. They're built on an emotional level. When a man approaches emotional moments from a purely logical perspective, he completely misses the essence of the matter. The other side of this issue concerns how men communicate. The relationship between a man and a woman is built on actions. They do things together and speak aloud. Emotions are often secondary. So when a woman begins to open up, a man's mind quickly tries to categorize her. Is this something I should fix, ignore, or deal with? The more important question, why are you telling me this, is rarely asked, because women don't open up emotionally spontaneously. They don't reveal their inner world to just anyone close to them. Emotional sharing is selective and requires energy and honesty. People don't spend their money carelessly. If they didn't care about you, they wouldn't involve you. This is the aspect most men overlook. Sharing isn't neutral. This is intentional. It means you see her as someone important enough to witness her inner state. Whether this importance translates into attraction or mere emotional noise depends entirely on how you handle that moment. Imagine two men hearing the same story from the same woman. She says she feels ignored, unloved, and exhausted at work. One of them treats it as background noise, nodding, responding quickly, perhaps changing the subject. The other remains still, neither rushing, nor making things easy, nor trying to escape the tension. The words he speaks to her are the same, but each has a completely different impact. One lingers in the memory, the other carries a deeper meaning. When you treat her role as mere noise, you lose yourself. Loudly, not quietly, but within yourself. On the one hand, you only hear it later, when you begin to drift away and can't explain why. It's not about emotion, but about understanding the moment precisely. And until you understand it, every step you take from that moment onward will be built on a false foundation. There's a dangerous myth men hold about women and their emotions, that women are emotional with everyone, and that expressing feelings necessarily means they'll treat everyone around them the same way. This assumption underestimates the influence men may not even realize. While it's true women are emotional, they are also highly selective. Expressing emotions isn't a universal right. She is surrounded by other people. The gatekeeper is her nervous system, her sense of security, her sense of detachment. She consciously decides who can see beyond the curtain and who can stay. This is a distinction most men don't notice. There are casual conversations, and then there's emotional discovery. Casual conversations are free. Funny stories, full of flirtation and lightheartedness. Sharing her feelings is precious to her. This includes fear, insecurity, frustration, doubt, and aspects of her personality that haven't yet matured or aren't quite as appealing. This makes many people laugh. She tells stories, cracks jokes, and brings a lighthearted atmosphere to many episodes, but she only reveals her true fears, inner anxieties, and vulnerabilities to a select few. She doesn't do this by chance. It's emotional control. She doesn't just talk about her problems, she chooses. She decides who is closest to her inner world and who is emotionally distant. This choice is based on how safe, balanced, and stable she feels. That's why two men might meet the same woman and have completely different experiences with her. One gains superficial power, the other profound. Not because they sought it, but because it was permitted. Vulnerability is an investment, and people don't invest where they see no value. From a psychological perspective, vulnerability opens new horizons, reveals hidden truths, removes control, and creates the possibility of exclusion, misunderstanding, or marginalization. So, when you do that, you've already formed an opinion about yourself. At least to some extent, you believe you're capable of handling it. That's why it's a huge mistake to treat her with disdain when she shares something with you. When you act as if it doesn't concern her, you're sending her the message that your risk wasn't worth it. And once she gets that signal, the door won't just be closed. It'll be firmly shut. She doesn't flaunt her emotions. Instead, she radiates self-confidence. Men who recognize this don't rush things, don't try to fix or rescue her, but simply understand what's happening. It's a silent invitation to stop talking, but to show that she's made the right decision by being there for her. When a woman tells you about her problems, know that something significant is happening within her. And most men never realize it. They think they're just listening, they think they're supporting, but in reality, they're evaluating. Not in a malicious way, not as a game, not with a conscious checklist she's mentally going through. It's quieter, more spontaneous. There's an unspoken question in the room when she opens it. Can this woman remain composed in my absence? That is the test. She is not testing your intelligence, your problem-solving skills, or even your empathy, as most men assume. She is testing your emotional stability, your ability to remain grounded in the moment. From an evolutionary and psychological perspective, this makes sense. Emotional instability is information. When you express it, she sees what happens to you. Do you panic? Do you rush to take control? Do you feel defensive, embarrassed, or anxious? Or do you remain focused, calm, and composed? Most men fall into predictable patterns here. Some become defensive. They hear her frustration and take it personally. They elaborate on their feelings, justifying or arguing about them. The message is clear. Their feelings are the problem, and others are exaggerating them. They immediately jump to action, offering solutions as a shield. This may seem helpful on the surface, but at its core, it betrays impatience and discontent. There are men who are emotionally volatile. Her anxiety is their anxiety. Her turmoil seeps into her. They lose control of themselves, trying to show how much they care. She doesn't feel safe with any of these responses. Now, imagine another reaction. She's frustrated. Her thoughts are scattered. Her emotions are overwhelming. And you don't reflect that. You don't exclude anything. You don't add or subtract anything. You remain still. You listen without rushing. Your tone of voice doesn't change. Your presence doesn't fade. Here, attraction either increases or fades because you're not looking at what you're saying. She's looking at who you are in that moment. Your words are far less valuable than your self-control and far less valuable than your ability to maintain your emotional equilibrium while she expresses herself. When she senses her own inner conflict, something happens. You will see her as strong, trustworthy, stable, and secure when she confronts reality. This innate perception is incredibly powerful. This is why two men might respond kindly and yet get different results. One is someone you respect, while the other leaves you feeling emotionally alone even during conversation. The test is unexplained. There's no second chance, and it happens in real time. You either succeed or fail before you even realize you're being tested. This is where many good men lose their women without realizing it. They listen, they care, they support. And as soon as the woman finishes expressing her concerns, they immediately launch into an attempt to fix the situation. Advice, strategies, solutions, step by step. On the surface, it looks like effort, competence, and leadership. But in reality, everything is wrong, and therein lies the trap. Apologizing seems like the right thing for men to do because we think so. When our loved ones are hurt, our instinct is to remove the pain, stop it, and fix it. On paper, this seems like a manly and responsible act, but in reality, the result is often the opposite of what you expect. When she rushes to apologize, she doesn't feel helped. Instead, she feels unheard. It's not that your advice is bad, but that it ignores her emotional state. It ignores the perspective she wants to be seen in. She feels corrected instead of understood. controlled instead of supported. Her nervous system interprets this as a negative dimension. Think about what she's going through right now. She's already feeling frustrated, doubtful, or overwhelmed. When you rush to find solutions, you might feel like saying, "This shouldn't affect you so much." Even if you don't mean it, that's what's happening. The effect is subtle but powerful. She stops searching and investigating. She reduces her generosity towards you, not because she doesn't love you, but because she's dissatisfied with her current situation. You see this happening all the time. She talks about a difficult boss, and you show her how to deal with him. She talks about feeling isolated from her friends, and you suggest she cut ties with them or find new activities. Logical and clear answers, with a little frustration each time you try to back out because you didn't ask her to come up with a plan. She asked you to accept her for who she is. The more you focus on her, the more she'll return to her normal self. This is the aspect most men are unwilling to acknowledge. It's not your ability that's the problem. It's your time. Time you prioritize solutions over life itself. You're subconsciously making her feel that her feelings are something to be resolved, not something you can handle. This is a harsh truth. You don't fail because you don't care, but because you think the wrong way. Attractiveness doesn't grow from agility, but from emotional harmony. It's simply a matter of knowing when to take the initiative and when to maintain your position. Men who understand this don't rush to prove their worth. They prove it through self-control. Self-control is what distinguishes a man you trust from one you gradually grow to dislike. If you don't want to change, then what does that mean? This is precisely where most discussions about the dynamics of relationships between men and women seem vague. They talk about things like listening or support without explaining their practical meaning. Without clarity, men either overreact or shut down completely. What she wants is emotional control. This doesn't mean passive acceptance, it doesn't mean submission, and it certainly doesn't mean taking her feelings personally. Emotional control means that your presence creates calm, not excitement. This means she can live her life without trying to control, suppress, or amplify her emotions. When a woman is upset, her nervous system is activated, thoughts flood her mind, and emotions overwhelm her. At that moment, she doesn't seek logic, but rules. And rules don't come from answers, but from comparisons. Your composure can be a counterbalance. That's why one well-thought-out response can be more effective than 10 well-intentioned solutions. A simple, firm admission is more impactful than hasty advice. Not because words are magical, but because they reflect your situation. The substance is what matters because it conveys certainty. This tells her nervous system that she can't feel this way and that she can't control it, allowing her to calm down. Don't tell her what to do, and don't try to force her to express her feelings. Instead, communicate with her without pressure. There's a crucial difference here. The point isn't to agree with every opinion she has. You don't agree that her boss is bad or that her friends are bad. They acknowledge the validity of feelings of stress, pain, or despair. These are not identical emotions, and this is where many men become confused. They believe that their lack of a solution or suggestion indicates indifference. In reality, this is precisely their nature. They prefer to respond immediately to what they feel, not to worry about it. Imagine the situation. She says she feels tired, unappreciated, and stuck. Don't rush her. Don't interrupt. Let her finish. Then respond calmly and without drama. Acknowledge what she's going through. Stand your ground. Don't change the subject. Don't try to fix things immediately. Then something will change. Her breathing slows. Her energy shifts. Not because the problem is gone, but because you're no longer part of the chaos surrounding her. You're not calm because you've solved the problem, but because you're no longer part of it. That's the power of emotions. They don't solve problems. They calm the moment. In relationships, this skill is more important than having the right answers. Many men silently exhaust themselves without understanding why. They feel they need to offer support, while women feel they need understanding, presence, and empathy. In the process, they mistake support for selfishness. They begin to carry feelings they weren't meant to have. There's a crucial difference between keeping their balance and embracing them. And strong men know exactly where that line lies. Keeping their balance means staying put, unaffected. Embracing them means controlling their emotions. Take responsibility for correcting them and let them shake you to your core. One creates attraction, the other gradually weakens it. When a man takes on her feelings, he drains himself. He replays her problems in his mind and feels pressured to improve everything. He begins to measure his self-worth by his own satisfaction. Over time, this breeds resentment, exhaustion, and emotional trauma. She feels neither safe nor attracted to any of it. From her perspective, a man consumed by her emotions feels weak, not powerful. Not that he's indifferent, but that he loses himself in the process. Women, in turn, disrespect men, feeling obligated to suppress their feelings. And that's something most men don't want to hear. Being deeply affected by her feelings doesn't bring you closer to her, nor does it make you lose your composure. Rather, it's she who reacts by losing her composure. Not being affected by her is a weakness. You can listen without offering support, you can empathize without being overwhelmed by emotion, and you can worry without being overwhelmed by emotion. That's what emotional strength truly looks like. There are times when she needs someone to listen and space to express herself without interruption or guidance. And there are other times when your determination, calmness, and willingness to cooperate are what truly matter in the relationship. Knowing the difference is what distinguishes a man you can trust from one who is emotionally reserved. Consider two different reactions to the same situation. In one, you're upset and tense, so you counter her feelings, escalate the situation, and try to resolve everything immediately. In the other, you act slowly, calmly, and deliberately, without rushing or panicking, and allow her emotions to flow freely while you remain on the ground. Only one of these reactions will make her feel safe. She doesn't want anyone to sink with her. She wants a strong support to lean on. But that doesn't mean you should be distant or cold. It means you should stand up for yourself in front of her. Don't abandon your feelings to show you care. Show it by maintaining your balance. This balance makes her trust you more, not less. Because the man who can remain consistent without withdrawing is the one you'll trust more when you reconsider. This is how most men lose women, through arguments, infidelity, or even a sudden change later on. They lose them through silence. At first, there doesn't seem to be any problem. She still talks, she still appears, but something is slowly changing. She no longer shares as much. She keeps things simple. Deep conversations gradually fade away, replaced by superficial exchanges that seem polite but are ultimately empty. Most men don't notice this phase until it's too late. When a woman stops sharing her inner world, it's not because she's suddenly become secretive. That's because she's learned from experience that openness doesn't lead to a relationship, but rather to distance. So she changes, becoming more introverted, and the attraction gradually fades. This is where the concept of the friend zone comes into play. But when she realizes she feels emotionally isolated even when talking to you, she says, "You've misunderstood me." You fixed it, minimized it, bottled it up, or distorted her instability. Her nervous system picked up on it. Eventually, she stopped bringing her problems to you. Not because she disappeared, but because you were no longer a safe haven. An emotional shutdown occurs, and once that door closes, it rarely opens again. This is why breakups often seem so unexpected to men. From their perspective, things were going well. From her perspective, the relationship had been gradually fading away for months. Compare this to a man who stood his ground. He wouldn't be an emotional sponge, absorbing her feelings until she broke. He wouldn't dismiss her carelessly or impatiently. He would remain steadfast, unwavering, and resolute. The core of emotions doesn't shift simply because its center moves. This is the difference between stability and rigidity. A sponge absorbs until it's full and useless, while stability remains steadfast regardless of the surrounding circumstances. Women sense this difference instinctively. Stability breeds confidence, while rigidity arouses subtle doubt. Women don't leave when they're overwhelmed with emotion, but when they feel lonely after opening up. Men who understand this don't rush things, don't try to persuade, and don't overcomplicate matters. They don't lose women silently because they haven't yet learned that silence is safer than revealing themselves. They become a safe haven where emotions flow without creating a crisis. It's not just charming, it's unforgettable. When a woman tells you about her problems, it's not just about the problems themselves, nor is it a time for choice. She's not asking you to fix her life, nor is she burdening you. She's opening a door to see what kind of man you are. Whether you rush in, hesitate, or remain steadfast, it tells her everything she needs to know. If you misunderstand that moment, the loss is silent. Don't argue, don't explain. Simply stop bringing it up in your mind. The attraction fades, not because you did anything wrong, but because you couldn't handle that crucial moment. But when you fully understand what's happening, everything changes. You can't fix it. Don't run away. Don't exhaust yourself trying to show you care. Instead, stand your ground. Become someone who listens without panicking. Someone who can remain emotionally present without needing to suppress their feelings. Someone who is calm instead of agitated. This is not weakness. It is morally grounded emotional strength. Honestly, she won't remember every word you said. She won't repeat your advice over and over again. What she will remember is how safe she felt when you confided in her about difficult things, how you were there for her when she was away, how you didn't lose her, didn't panic, and didn't turn her vulnerability into an insurmountable problem. That's the kind of man women never forget. The person you trust, the person you choose. If this video has given you new clarity, subscribe to the channel. This channel is for men who want to understand women more deeply, not just guess and hope for success. If this idea resonates with you, like and share it with anyone who has lost their partner without knowing why. Have you ever failed this test without realizing it at the time? Because the power of awareness begins here. What distinguishes men who respect women from those who gradually distance themselves from them is steadfastness to principles.